What's up, guys? It's Nicholas, and today I just want to take a couple minutes to talk to you guys about what to look for and kind of what to look out for when picking out a new power supply. So let's do it. So the reason that I want to talk to you guys about this is because I wish I had known more about power supplies when I first started looking, because when you first start building your computer, you think, why should I spend more? It's just going to supply power. No matter what, they're all going to supply power. I mean, as long as I don't get the cheapest one I can get and it doesn't blow up my system, we should be fine, right? Not quite. There's a couple things you do have to look for, and like I said, look out for when picking out any power supply. And those are the things I want to talk about. And this has kind of been a theme lately in my videos, is things that I wish I had known more about when I first started. And that's kind of a good thing, because I want to be able to pass on that knowledge to someone else that's just starting to get into computer building and is wondering, okay, what's the point of me spending more on a power supply? Should I not spend more on a power supply? It helps out, and if I can help one person spend the money better than they would have, that's a win for me. So when you first build, you probably think, okay, I'll just get something that has more watts than what PC Part Picker tells me I need. Done, right? Not quite, and the reason I say that is because these two power supplies on the table, they both are power supplies, obviously, but they are so different. This is actually the power supply from my first pre-built computer I ever bought, which this is actually going into the streaming machine, because this is supposed to be in my brother's computer right now. He instead has a Corsair 750 in there because we were swapping stuff out while I was doing the diagnosing PC problems. And it never got put back in, but this would usually be a 750 on the table. But anyways, this power supply is a 550 watt, no rating. This is a 650 watt from EVGA, gold quality. 80 plus is pretty much how efficient the power supply is. That's because that was one of the things I was curious about. What does 80 plus mean? 80 plus, what is that? That means that the less electricity you're wasting when you are pulling power for your computer. So, and I don't know the numbers offhand, but if you look it up, it will give you a pretty much a chart of like, okay, this means that over this much wattage, it is this efficient, blah, 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 blah. There's certain tiers that it falls into. Platinum being the best, bronze being, actually, I think just gold, or 80 plus rated is its own thing too. And then there's bronze, silver, gold, platinum. But that's kind of a topic for another day, about what all that means. But if you can afford to, get something that is 80 plus certified, because that will mean that your electricity bills will be a couple dollars lower, and it's usually a pretty good quality power supply if it's 80 plus rated. I'm not saying go out and buy a 1600 watt platinum rated power supply. I'm just saying if you can get something a little bit better quality, that would help. So besides that, what are the other differences? Well, as you can see, this EVGA, modular, well, semi-modular, because the 24 pin is always connected. Let me make it, yeah, it's close enough to being in the video. This, on the other hand, oh god, it's called an Ultra. God, I'm gonna end up getting a different power supply for the stream PC, but this is what's called non-modular. So this has all the cables always attached. There's nothing you do. Obviously, people sometimes will cut them and stuff like that. I don't like getting into that, because having live wires that are just snipped, not really my thing. But so why did I end up replacing this power supply? Why didn't I just keep using it? There's a big reason for that. This says it supplies 550 watts. Or it says it's a 550 watt power supply. Not quite though. On cheaper power supplies, you're actually going to find that a lot of the times what they state as the wattage is actually the peak output, which means it's what the power supply could maximally put out for a very short period of time. Continuous watts is what it can actually put out, like it says, continuously. So where this says 650 watt power supply, I have gotten it all the way up to about 600 watts, just trying to see what I could do. I mean, just plugging fans in, doing anything I could, trying to see if it would put out how much it says. Because, like I said, this thing, problem with this was I got it up to even about 450, and it would shut off. And that was like 425, 450, it would just shut off, done, and then the computer would restart. That's not good, obviously, because a lot of graphics cards will actually start taking, so you might turn to PC and it seems fine, But when I replaced the graphics card, when I'd get into certain games, as soon as it would kick up into a higher power state, it would actually just, like I said, black screen the computer. And like I said earlier, I'm sure you guys have all heard about cheapo power supplies actually blowing up people's computers. This isn't always true. Most power supplies will at least be safe enough to not blow up. But like I said, you're going to be spending more on your power bill because they're not as efficient. And also, the warranties are kind of... EVGA, I know, has very, very good warranties on their power supplies, like super good. And that was one of the reasons. This is a 650 watt. I have an 850 watt up in my Orion build upstairs. But it's just, I have a fondness for EVGA, at least when it comes to power supplies. Hopefully getting an EVGA graphics card soon, so we'll see if that carries over into that. So the next thing when it comes to watts is you actually need to consider that there's actually an efficiency curve, and I'm sure some of you have heard about this if you've been reading anything about power supplies. And the efficiency curve for a power supply, it's different for every power supply, but typically between like 40 and 60% usage. So say you have a 1,000 watt power supply, about between 400 and 600 watts is where that power supply is actually going to be the most efficient, which means it's wasting the least amount of electricity it can. And so that's why some people some people, if they've done their research, that's why they'll get bigger power supplies, is because they're trying to go as efficient as they can. It really doesn't save you tons on your power, or on your power bill. Saves you a ton on your power bill, but it will save you some, and that's kind of why some people are like, well, and I mean, if you live in somewhere where electricity is expensive, I mean, it can help. It can definitely pay off. The other thing that getting a oversized power supply will do for you, so say you need 400 watts for your system, and like me, you buy an 850 watt power supply. A lot of newer power supplies that are higher watts, that are good quality, will actually have a zero fan mode, where anything below, so say my 850, I don't know exactly what the number is, but say my 850 doesn't turn on below, or anything below 500 watts, and my whole entire system's only pulling 450, that is one less fan spinning in the system. So I know some people that have silent builds that actually have went out of their way to buy an oversized power supply just so that that fan won't be spinning. And you would be surprised if you have all your fans spinning at a low enough RPM in your system to do silent, you'd be surprised how loud that power supply fan actually is. Kind of surprised me, because when they set it so that the power supply did ramp up, you could hear it, and it was crazy to me, because I'd always thought that power supply fans were pretty quiet. It wasn't. So another reason people sometimes go with oversized power supplies is because, and I fell into the exact same category, but if I upgrade later to a bigger GPU, 2 GPUs, SLI, whatever, I will still be able to use the same power supply. Honestly, if you're never going to do SLI, you're not really pulling that much power. You'd be surprised how little power most systems actually pull, even with SLI. That 850 watt power supply that I'm rocking in Orion will be more than enough for no matter what I'm going to do, unless I went to like a triple SLI system. Most components are getting more and more power efficient, which means smaller and smaller power supplies are what's actually needed. Like I said, there's other reasons that you would want to go with a bigger power supply, but those reasons are kind of starting to get smaller and smaller, because like I said, even if I went to SLI, that 850 power supply is probably more than I'm going to need. I could probably do with a 750 watt. Do I want to cut it really close though? Not really. So yeah. But really, it's all about doing your research. PC Part Picker is a very good one for telling you how much wattage you'll actually pull, especially on like SLI systems. That helps out. You can put in all your fans there. It's just a super helpful site, especially if you're a first-time PC builder. My original case that I had picked out wouldn't have fit my Hyper 212 Evo when I was first putting my first system together. It actually gave me an alert that yes, this will not fit. Don't try it. And not all cases have that. It's kind of iffy, at least when I last used it. I haven't used it in quite a while, but it will give you a message that not all cases have their dimensions on there, so you don't know exactly if it'll fit, but most of them will, and it will give you a heads up of, hey, this won't fit, or it's going to be very close, or something like that. So that's very nice. So just to recap, when you're looking for power supplies, a couple things you want to look at is if it's 80 plus rated, it's a cheapo power supply, and you're close to what your needed wattage is. It's iffy because some cheapo power supplies will do just fine. Some of them can blow up, as I'm sure you guys have heard. And actually, I believe that was a thermal take power supply. I don't want to quote that, but I believe so. And also, it can not supply enough power sometimes. So that's a couple things to consider. If you're building a silent PC, special considerations there. If you're trying to, if your energy bill is super, or if your energy at where you're living in your area is super expensive, another reason to do a little more research into what power supply you want to get. Because if you can get one that you're using 400 watts and that's in its peak efficiency curve right there, that would be awesome because you're going to be spending a lot less. I'm very fortunate. We have tons of computers and electronics running in this house all the time, and our power bill isn't bad. So I'm definitely lucky in that aspect. But I know some people, I have actually friends that live in other areas where their electricity is ridiculous. Like, I'll leave my PC on sometimes all night to download games, and it doesn't really affect me. But anyways, guys, that is the end of my tips. Definitely make sure if you have any extra tips, put them down in the comments. I'm a forgetful person. I have notes over here. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I have been not scripting my videos, but I have been making up bullet points so that I don't forget stuff. And yeah, that's kind of led to me, I think I'm going to redo one of my old videos that has quite a few views. I'll let you guys think about what video that is. There's only one that has tons and tons of views, but yeah. So anyways, definitely leave any extra tips in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell your friends about the channel. Leave me a like if you liked the video. Leave me a dislike if you disliked it. Let me know why you disliked it. Let me know if I'm just a complete idiot and that's why you disliked it. Because when I do these kind of videos, sometimes I'm like, okay, this seems like such a basic information. But then I have people that are like, I didn't know some of that stuff. Like, thank you so much. And it makes me feel like, okay, these videos are needed. Like, to know, and I would like to do a separate video on the 80+ rating, but that's for another day. So I'm going to stop rambling now. So thank you guys so much for watching. Twitter and Instagram down in the description. I always forget. And I'll see you guys in the next video. So